Hey there, I'm Joseph, your Web3 dev, and in this video I will show you how you can combine the Lens protocol along with Airstack API to get your desired Web3 data. With Airstack, it lets us use AI to create our queries in a very simple way, and I will show you exactly how it works. But for this app, I've used Airstack to get the owner address of a specific Lens handle. So when I input this Lens handle right here, click submit, in a matter of seconds, we get the owner address for that specific handle. And the same goes if I try to type Lens protocol, which is a handle on its own. I click submit, and there we have the owner address of the Lens protocol handle. So if this is interesting enough, stay tuned and I will show you exactly how you can build this. Let's get straight into it and open the terminal and create our project. So we're going to use Next.js. So let's do npx create next app and use latest. Let's choose a name. I'm gonna name my folder lens-airstack. Hit no on TypeScript, yes, 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 and then no on the last option as well. And then cd into lens-airstack. And we're going to install one single dependency, and it is going to be the Airstack React SDK. And from here, we can just open it up in Visual Studio Code. And from here, we can open the page.js file and remove everything and paste this in. So what we're doing right here, we import useState, the context file that we haven't created yet, along with header and get data components as well. And then we create these two state variables, input value and variables. And then we set them inside this state.provider so we can pass it along across our application. Then we render the header component that we will create very soon, along with the get data component once this variables.name value is not an empty string. So let's go on and create this context file first, and it is going to be within this components folder. So let's go on and create that one. So let's do components and then create the context.js file. So in here, we want to use client, and then we're going to import this create context from React. We're going to create a context variable that has this create context function, and then we're going to export default context like so. So that's basically it, what we need for creating and setting up our context. Hit save and close this file. So next up, let's create this header component. So let's create header.js and paste this code in right here. So what do? First, we import use context and the context file we just created, and then we import the state variables. Well, not all of them, because we have two here. We have the input value and the variables, and then we have their setter functions. And we won't need the value itself of variables, we just need its setter function. So that's what we're importing right here. And when we render everything, this is gonna make sense very soon. So first we will render the title, the lens plus Airstack, and then we have the input field that has an onChange function, the handle change, and then the submit button, which has an onClick function, the handle submit. So every time we type something inside the input field, we're going to run the handle change function, which takes that value and stores it within the input value variable right here. And then when we click submit, we run this handle submit function, which takes that value and it stores it within the set variables, which is an object. So it has the key name, and then we set input field, the input value from the input field as its value. And we're going to use this value right here later on when we do the request to get the owner address for this specific lens handle. So click save and close this one. We can actually save this file as well. And next up, what we want to create is this get data component along with the query. And before we do that, let me show you how Airstack actually works. So let's go to airstack.xyz, and then from here we can launch this studio where we can see the different queries. We can see what people are using, and we can also type here and use the AI assistant to create our own query. So for example, if we want to get the NFTs for a specific, let's say, address, we can do get a wallet's NFTs on Ethereum network, for example. And then when we generate this, it will help us create this query right here. And there we have it, the token balances. And for this example, it takes vitalik.eth as an address. And to make it dynamic, you can just use a variable and have an input field, for example, paste the wallet address in there and search with that address. And then it's going to limit for 50. You can see blockchain Ethereum, which is exactly what we typed right here. And it automatically understands that we want to display the images because they are NFTs. And this is the response we're getting back. So some of them will be empty. And then we have, if we scroll down, we have like the link to display the image itself. So this is pretty cool. You can do the same, but instead of NFTs, you might want to display the coins that a wallet holds or something else. It's totally up to you, but you can take inspiration from here or from the home page where you can see the different examples that people are using. So that's pretty cool. So let's now go back to our application and create a new file within the components folder. It's going to be query.js. And here is where we paste our query in. So it's going to be named lens query. And we take the name as a parameter, which is the lens handle. And we take that, we check for the Ethereum blockchain, and then we display the addresses that are within this lens handle. So click save and close this one. Now it's time to create the last component, which is the one that does the request and gets the response and also displays the data that we want. And it is called getData. So let's create this getData.js component and paste the following code in here. It's not a big component, so it doesn't take much to get this data and display it the way we do. So I can actually remove this use state. We're not using it. So what we do, we import use context and use effect. We import the init and use lazy query by Airstack, and then the context and the query itself we just created. So in order to do request using the Airstack API, you're going to need to have an API key, and you can do that on their website. So when you sign up, you get an account right here, you go to view API keys. So what I have done is you can either add your API key here as a string or create this, where do we have it? We don't have it. So we can actually create a new file, the .env.local, and we want to create this variable right here. And then paste our API key in here. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and then continue on with this getData component. And we're back. So the first thing we want to do is to import variables, which was the value we set here within the header component. And we're going to pass along the variables along with the lens query using this use lazy query. We're going to pass these two as parameters, and then the response we're getting back, we're going to extract lens data and lens loading. We're not going to use lens pagination, so we could actually remove this, but let's keep it for now, but to make sure this doesn't apply for our app right now. So we have this use effect, and immediately when we render this component, we're going to run this function to get the response back using Airstack API. And every time this variable changes, we're going to run this again and again and again. So every time you input another lens handle and click submit, this is what's going to happen to get the current data for that specific lens handle. So down here we check if the response, if this lens loading is true, then we're just gonna display loading, which you may saw in the beginning of the video. But when lens data is true, which is this right here, then we're going to display the response we're getting back. So first we take the variables.name, which was the one we added in the input field. And then we take the lens data.wallet.addresses, and we take the first value right here within that array, and we display that, which means that we can display this wallet address right here. So it's as easy as that, as quick as that. Let's try it out one more time to make sure it works. So let's do npm run dev right here. Everything is up and running. Let's reload the page and then paste this lens handle in, hit submit. There we see the loading, and then we see the handle we inputted along with its owner address right here. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. I hope you learned how you can use Airstack. If you have any questions, make sure you post them in the comment section below. Make sure you smash the like button, and I will see you in the next video.